You know that feeling when you're just searching for something,
Yeah.
well, something deeper, a real sense of why you're here.
Oh, definitely. And the self-help aisle just seems endless, doesn't it? So much noise.
Exactly. So what if we just, focused, took a deep dive into one specific perspective, one that's been around a while?
I like that.
That's what we're doing today. We're looking at God's Design for Woman by Brother Donato S. Powell Sr. It's all about a biblical understanding of a woman's purpose.
And what's great about this source, I think, is that it really drills down into foundational principles from Scripture. Not just trends, but core truths.
Right. Things that can give you a solid framework.
Yeah, for understanding not just purpose in general, but maybe how it applies uniquely to you. We want to really unpack the insights here.
Precisely. So think of it like this.
Yeah.
We'll start broad with the universal purposes the Bible talks about for women.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll zoom in, see how those big ideas can actually shape your personal individual calling. Sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first up, the document lays out 6 universal purposes drawn from Scripture. The very first one, it's about glorifying God and, importantly, finding joy in Him.
This is really central. The document points to verses like Isaiah 43:7 being created for God's glory.
Right.
And also Luke 1.4647, Mary's Magnificat, where her soul glorifies the Lord and her spirit rejoices.
That joy piece is key.
It is. And what's interesting is how broad this is. It's not just church stuff. Glorifying God, according to this, touches everything: family, work, friendships, worship, service, all of it.
So it's not like faith over here, life over there.
Exactly. It's integrated. Even the mundane, the everyday can be, well, deeply purposeful and spiritual.
That shifts things, doesn't it? Less like a checklist, more like your whole posture in life.
Yeah.
And the document links this to our deepest joy, our identity even.
Yeah, finding who you are and honoring God.
Okay, purpose number 2 moves to reflecting God's image and character.
Yes, and this goes straight back to Genesis 1.27. Foundational stuff. Both men and women created in God's image.
Can't get more foundational than that.
Right. And the document highlights how women might uniquely reflect certain aspects like wisdom, nurture, creativity, strength. Think Proverbs 31.
Ah, the Proverbs 31 woman, clothed with strength and dignity.
Exactly. So it's not just about being personally devout. It's about embodying these qualities, this godly character in a way that, positively influences people around you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So living with integrity is actually reflecting God's nature to the world.
Yeah,
That's quite a calling.
it is.
Okay, third universal purpose, helping, building, and stewarding well. This references Genesis 2.1 in the helper verse and Proverbs 14.1 about the wise woman building her house. Now, that word helper.
Yeah, it can carry some baggage, historically speaking.
A little bit.
But the document makes a really crucial point about the Hebrew word ezer.
Right?
It often signifies strength, vital help, partnership. It's used for God himself sometimes. So it's not about being secondary or less important.
Okay, that's a huge reframe, not subordinate, but strong partner.
Precisely, a vital contributor. So the call is for women to actively build up their homes, yes, but also ministries, communities using wisdom, stewarding resources well.
That gives helper real substance, an active force for building things up. Okay, number 4, loving, nurturing, and teaching of the Lord. Titus, come in here.
Yeah, this really speaks to mentorship, discipleship, that kind of influence.
Passing things on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The document emphasizes how crucial women are in raising, nurturing, guiding others using truth, using grace. It mentions Timothy's grandmother Lois and Mother Eunice
Oh, yes, their faith.
as examples of that generational impact.
Yeah.
It's about investing in people, sharing wisdom, shaping lives with godly principles, and it doesn't have to be a formal teaching role, right?
Right. It could be everyday encouragement, sharing what you know.
Absolutely. That ripple effect you mentioned.
Okay, 5th universal purpose, walking closely with God. Luke 10, Mary at Jesus' feet, and Micah 6.8. This feels like the absolute bedrock.
It really is. The document stresses this. The core calling is that deep personal relationship with God through Christ.
Everything flows from that.
Yes. Strength, clarity of purpose, it comes from his presence, from knowing his word. Mary chose that closeness. And Micah 6.8, act justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. The inner walk fuels the outer actions.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You can't pour from an empty cup. Right.
Right.
Okay, and the 6th universal purpose brings us back outward, proclaiming and serving the gospel. Matthew 28, the women at the tomb, and Acts 16, Lydia.
Yeah, this highlights the active role women have always played. Scripture itself shows this.
They were the first witnesses to the resurrection.
Exactly. Commissioned to tell the others. And think of Lydia, a businesswoman, a key supporter, opening her home for the early church.
So it's not passive.
Not at all. It underscores that women are called to be active participants in spreading the message through testimony, service, hospitality, teaching, giving, whatever form it takes.
Okay, so if we pull all 6 of those universal themes together, what's the headline?
Well, the document kind of sums it up beautifully. It's basically know God intimately, reflect his glory in everything, build and nurture wisely, serve in love, walk closely with Jesus, and influence your world for his kingdom.
That's a comprehensive picture. That's the universal why.
That's the framework, yes.
But then there's the big question, how does that become my why? How do I live that out? That brings us to part 2 of the document, right? Connecting the universal to the personal.
Exactly. It acknowledges that while those core purposes are for everyone, how you express them is unique. And it outlines 5 shaping factors. First one, unique gifting.
Referencing Romans 12.6, we have different gifts.
Precisely. God gives different gifts, different graces. So maybe for one woman, her primary way of glorifying God involves incredible caregiving skills.
Or another might be a gifted teacher or organizer.
Or an entrepreneur or an artist. The point is, your specific talents, your spiritual gifts, they're the tools God gives you to live out those universal purposes in your own way.
Like we each have our own unique instrument to play in the orchestra.
That's a great analogy. The second shaping factor is unique seasons. Ecclesiastes 3.1, to everything there is a season.
Ah, yes. Life changes, purpose expression changes too.
Absolutely. What purpose looks like when you're single, maybe studying or deep in a career, might look very different from when you're, say, raising young children.
Right. Maybe more capacity for missions work in one season.
And more focus on shaping little hearts and minds in another. It's not static. The outward expression evolves.
Okay, that's actually really freeing. Takes the pressure off finding the one perfect, unchanging role.
It should. Life isn't static. The third factor is unique calling. Referencing Ephesians 2.9, this gets more specific.
We're God's handiwork, created to do good works.
Which God prepared in advance for us to do.
Right. And the document points to biblical examples. Esther, using her position to intercede.
Deborah, leading and judging.
Priscilla, teaching alongside Aquila. These women had specific assignments, specific ways God called them to live out the broader purposes in their time and place. Your unique calling is your specific assignment. Finding your specific part in this story. Okay, fourth factor, unique struggles and testimonies. Romans 8.28.
All things work together for good. This is powerful.
It really is. The idea that hardship isn't wasted.
Exactly. Often the toughest things we go through equip us with unique empathy, unique understanding to help others who are walking a similar path.
So someone who's battled illness might have a special ministry to others who are sick.
Precisely. Or someone who's faced loss can offer comfort in a way others can't. Our struggles refine us, become part of our story, our ability to serve.
That brings so much meaning to difficult times. Okay, and the fifth and final shaping factor, unique influence, Acts 1.8.
You'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. That principle applies on a personal level, too.
So my Jerusalem might be my home.
Could be. Or your workplace,
Yeah.
your church group, your online community. It's about recognizing the spheres where God has placed you.
And being intentional about your impact there.
Exactly. Understanding your personal calling involves seeing where your influence lies right now.
Okay, wow. So we've got the universal foundation and these 5 ways it gets personalized. Now, the document includes a worksheet, which is super practical.
Yeah, the personal calling discovery worksheet. It helps you apply all this.
Let's just touch on part 1 quickly. Reflecting on God's universal purpose. The first question gets right to it. How do I glorify God in my current season of life?
Great starting point. Makes you think about the now. What does honoring God look like for you today in your circumstances?
Then, in what ways do I reflect the character of Christ to others? An honest look at embodying those qualities. Wisdom, nurture, strength.
How are those actually showing up in your interactions?
And then how do I serve or nurture others? Getting practical about family, friends, ministry, work. Where are you actively contributing?
And then it gets very personal. Am I walking in a close daily relationship with God? There's that little yes and what no checklist.
And the follow-up about spiritual habits. Really checking that foundation.
Because, like we said, it is the foundation. What are you doing to actually cultivate that closeness? And finally, who has God placed in my life to disciple or influence? Identifying those specific people or groups.
Okay, that's part one. Part two, discovering my unique design gets even more tailored. First question, what are my natural and spiritual gifts?
Yeah, and it gives examples: teaching, mercy, encouragement, prayer, leadership, but it
Yeah.
encourages you to list your own. What comes naturally? Where do you feel spiritually equipped?
Both matter. Then, what skills or talents have I developed? Things like homemaking, tech skills, writing, mentoring.
This recognizes growth, right? Skills you've learned and honed over time. They're part of your toolkit, too.
Definitely. Then, what life experiences have shaped my faith or perspective, tying back to those unique struggles and testimonies?
How has your journey molded you? What unique insights has it given you?
And what groups or causes am I deeply burdened for? Tapping into passion, what really moves your heart.
That burden or passion is often a huge clue to where God might be directing you.
Makes sense. And the last one in this section, where has God placed me? Looking at your roles, family, job, church, community, and asking how you can live with more purpose right there.
It's about seeing those current places not just as duties, but as opportunities for purpose, grounding it in your reality.
Right. Okay, and finally, part three is about actually writing it down. Crafting a personal call-in statement is a template.
Yeah, it's helpful. I believe God is calling me to glorify Him by doing this action mission, using my gifts in this area to impact this group or sphere while reflecting Christ through these qualities.
And it gives that example. I believe God is calling me to glorify Him by encouraging young women, using my gifts in teaching and hospitality to build godly confidence in the next generation while reflecting Christ in joy and gentleness.
See how it pulls everything together: the universal purpose, glorifying Him; the unique action, encouraging young women; the gifts, teaching, hospitality; the impact sphere, next generation; and the character reflection, joy, gentleness.
That really crystallizes it, takes it from abstract ideas to a concrete personal focus.
That's the goal, to synthesize all that reflection into something clear.
So as we wrap this up, the big takeaway feels like understanding your purpose as a woman from this perspective isn't some vague, mystical quest.
No, not at all.
It's really grounded. It starts with these big universal truths from the Bible that apply to all women.
Those 6 core purposes.
But then, crucially, it becomes personal. It's about discovering your unique design, your gifts, your story, your passions, and figuring out how you live out those big truths.
Exactly. It's both hand. Universal foundation, unique expression. And that worksheet is just a great tool to start that personal exploration.
It really is. It pushes you to ask concrete questions, not just think in generalities.
Questions about your walk with God, your talents, your relationships, where you are right now.
So maybe the thing to chew on after listening is this. How could really grasping these core purposes and starting to identify your unique design actually change how you see your everyday life?
Yeah, how might it reshape your perspective on your job, your family interactions, your free time, even your struggles?
What new possibilities might open up if you started seeing your life through this lens of universal purpose meeting unique calling?
That's definitely something worth spending some time thinking about.